In February 2009, Heather Strong was kidnapped and murdered in Marion County, Florida. Her killer, Emilia Lily Carr, was found guilty in December 2010 and sentenced to death by lethal injection in February 2011. Carr is one of 4 women on death row in the state of Florida. Another suspect, Joshua Fulgham, Strong's husband, was also convicted of first-degree murder and kidnapping in her death and is awaiting sentencing. He received 2 consecutive sentences of life in prison without parole. Emilia Lily Carr was born Emilia Yera, the second of 3 sisters. A psychologist estimated her IQ to be 125. At the age of 15, she reported abuse by her father to her school, but withdrew her statement to officials. In February 2004, Carr's father was convicted of attempting to solicit the murders of his family and was sentenced to 4 years in prison. Carr had been married twice and filed a restraining order against one of her ex-husbands for domestic violence. She was sentenced to 2 years of probation for her involvement in her ex-husband's grand theft of exotic birds. Carr had 3 children at the time, one of them with ex-boyfriend Jamie Akome. In November 2008, Carr became engaged to Joshua Damian Fulgham, who instead married Heather Strong 1 month later. However, Carr maintained contact with them and babysat Strong's 2 children, according to Carr's family. In January 2009, Fulgham was arrested for threatening Strong with a shotgun, but was released after the charge of aggravated assault with a firearm was dropped. Investigators later discovered that Carr had threatened Strong with a knife to force her to withdraw her criminal complaint. Carr and Fulgham re-established their relationship while Strong began seeing someone else. Fulgham and Strong became involved in a legal battle over the custody of their 2 children. In February 2009, Heather Strong, then a 26-year-old resident of Citra, Florida, disappeared while employed at an Iron Skillet restaurant at a petrol gas station next to Interstate Road 75 in Reddick. She was reported missing on February 15th. Her remains were discovered on March 19th in a shallow grave by a storage trailer in Boardman, near McIntosh, Florida. Carr was arrested on March 24th after investigators noted the frequency of her statements to authorities, 10 in all without the presence of an attorney. Detectives also recorded undercover audio of Carr discussing details of the crime with Fulgham's sister. Carr, who at the time was 7 months pregnant with Fulgham's child, tricked Strong into the storage trailer behind the home of Carr's mother, Maria, and placed a plastic bag over her head after unsuccessfully trying to break her neck. Strong eventually died of asphyxiation while bound by duct tape to a computer chair. Strong's estranged husband, Joshua Fulgham, was arrested on suspicion of fraud for using her credit cards after she had disappeared. Later in March 2009, Carr gave birth to her 4th child while in custody at Marion County Jail. All of her children were placed in foster care. Carr provided a confession to investigators, but claimed that she had only done so in the hope of being reunited with her children. Emilia Carr and Joshua Fulgham waived their right to a speedy trial during their arraignment for murder in April 2009. Prosecutor Rock Hooker immediately filed notice of his intent to pursue the death penalty because of the heinous nature of the crime. In November 2009, State Circuit Judge Willard Pope declined Emilia Carr's request for a continuance of the trial because of her concerns over the preparedness of defense attorney Candace Hawthorne. A jury found Carr guilty of first-degree murder and kidnapping after 2.5 hours of deliberations on December 7, 2010. During the penalty phase of the trial, Carr's family testified on her behalf that she had been traumatized since her early childhood by sexual abuse from her father and grandfather. However, the jury voted 7-5 on December 10th in favor of the death penalty for Carr. She was formally sentenced to death by lethal injection on February 22, 2011. More than a year after Carr's conviction for the murder of Heather Strong, her co-defendant, Joshua Fulgham, went on trial for his alleged participation in the murder in April 2012. Carr, on death row at the Lowell Correctional Institution Annex, would not testify at the trial. The prosecution detailed the gruesome aspects of the crime. Both the prosecution and Fulgham's defense attorneys agreed that the motives for Heather Strong's murder were jealousy and betrayal. At the conclusion of his trial, Fulgham was convicted of first-degree murder and kidnapping. Despite the death sentence of his co-defendant, Joshua's jury voted 8-4 to sentence him to life in prison without parole, and the judge followed the jury's recommendation. Carr was placed in the annex at Lowell Correctional Institution